Hey guys, Jen's here. So today I want to share with you some things that if you're starting your first group home that you may not think of that you need. Some of these things just kind of came up as we went along. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Um, some of these things might be things that you just want to add if you've already opened a few homes. So 15 things. I couldn't use numbered bullets because apparently Google Slides is not smart enough to do that in columns. And I really wanted to give you columns, but alas, let's begin. Door locks. These are your actual exterior entrance exit door locks. Obviously, you need a lock. However, what you want to consider is that you might want to get something with Wi-Fi so that you can change, first of all, coded locks, so that if you have a new house manager or somebody leaves not on good terms, you don't want to have to rekey locks every single time. If you get a coded lock, you can just change the code. And if you're managing your property remotely, or you just don't feel like having to go there in the middle of the night, if something happens, then Wi-Fi locks where you can change the code over Wi-Fi would be a good idea. Another thing is if you have a house like ours where we have 4 different entrance and exits. And we want to be able to monitor for any curfew breaking or anything like that. We actually have it set up so that all of the guests have their own code, so we know who's coming and going. Security cameras, that might be another obvious one, but again, you want to get Wi-Fi so you can see what's going on. They're not in the bedrooms or the bathrooms, but in the public gathering areas like the living room, dining room, kitchen, maybe a back patio. And of course, you want outdoor cameras to see who's coming and going. That also applies if you're having to rehab the home. It's always good to have security cameras on your place while you're going through construction. Smoke alarms, this one, another one that might seem obvious, but if you are doing rental arbitrage, you might not remember to look around and check that all of the smoke alarms that are needed are in place. And if you've got an older home, they might not be up to code. So you'll need to check your code and make sure you have the right amount of smoke alarms in the right places. Even like when I'm flipping, I don't think about the smoke alarms until the last minute. So go ahead and get on that. In some cases, if your local hardware store doesn't have like the contractor box or something you need, it might be something that you have to get ordered. Fire extinguishers, of course, in our house, we actually have to have 2, so make sure you have plenty of them. Exit signs. That's not something I realized we needed until we were open and ready to start putting people in the house. So we need to get exit signs. Dresser and cabinet locks. So in our home, it's good for everyone to have at least one drawer where they can keep things. I don't want to say of value really, because we tell people not to bring valuables into the home, but it might be nice to give them a place where they can lock stuff up for safekeeping. Now, we have little coded locks. It's like the 3-number code. Everybody gets 3 dresser drawers, and one of those drawers gets a lock on it. And these are aftermarket. We have the dressers, and then we had to add the locks. And we had to buy, for some of our rooms, we purchased matching dressers, and then for other rooms, we have donated items or things purchased at garage sales. So you'll have to look online and figure out what kind of mechanism works best for the type of dressers you have. But these dresser locks, they're like 3-code locks, and when somebody comes in, they set a code. The house manager has that code. So if there's ever a need for inspection, and there will be random inspections, he can go through and make sure that there are no drugs or paraphernalia or anything that is not allowed in the home in those drawers. And then the cabinet locks are for things like we have cabinets that contain the drug tests or backup hygiene kits and stuff like that. Things that might wander off if they're not locked up. So we also have a few cabinets with locks on them as well, where only the house manager has access. Drug tests, lots and lots of drug tests. We drug test multiple times randomly throughout the week. We drug test if somebody breaks curfew. We drug test if somebody has an overnight pass. We drug test if something looks suspicious. So we have a lot of drug tests. It's important to know about this up front because depending on where you're getting them, they can take, you might not be able to just go on Amazon and get a whole bunch of drug tests next day. It might take you 3, 4, 6 weeks to get these. We ordered ours from Alibaba.com. Refrigerators, capital S. Not something that I thought about right away, but for instance, in our first home, we started big. We had a 14-bed home. So we needed at least three refrigerators. We might have to get a fourth one. You want about a refrigerator for every 4 people. And when you start needing multiple refrigerators, you need to have your contractor check your plugs, your amperage, all that, make sure that your electrical is ready to support that many refrigerators. And then I probably wouldn't put in new water lines for additional fridges, but that might be something that you want to do. What's really recommended is to get water coolers. When we first started off, we had our house manager move in a few weeks before other people started coming in. So got a big old like 3-gallon, some kind of Brita filter with a tap on it. And that's fine to start with, but eventually you'll probably want to move to a water cooler, like the kind they would have in an office space. And then find out in your community where they can go to fill up like the 5-gallon jugs of water for that water cooler. And that's probably going to be your most cost-effective way, depending on what the water quality is in your area. I wouldn't want my family drinking from the tap at the house. So I don't expect these guys to drink from the tap either. So think about how you'll provide clean water. Entertainment. When you get sober, you find out that you have a lot of extra time. It's really an eye opener, like how much time you spent high or drunk, and that can be a trigger. Being bored can be a trigger. So you want to give them things to entertain themselves. Of course, in our home, there's a requirement to be employed as long as you are able-bodied. There are chores that need to get done, maintenance around the house. But we do have we have a TV in the living room, large TV in the living room. We have a small TV, and we're lucky in our house that we get to have a little bit of a game room. It's small, but we got them a little foosball table to put in there. And also we have tons of books on the shelves. We've got a lot of puzzles, board games. So think about things like that because like I said, there's a lot of people are relearning how to fill their time with healthy alternatives. A large whiteboard. You'll need a very large whiteboard. I can't remember the exact measurements that we got. I want to say it's at least like a 6x5. 8x7 probably sounds way too big, but it's a very large whiteboard. They're going and depending, and maybe it depends on how many people you have in your home. Having 14, we had a lot of stuff to write on that whiteboard. And the whiteboard is going to have a schedule, like what week or what day of the week each room or bed or person, depending on, again, it's unique to your home and how many beds you have, who's doing what chores when, who's responsible for what chores when. It will have your house manager's name and contact number on there. It will have a list of who's assigned to what bed, and we have our beds are numbered. So who's assigned to what bed, and then who has a pass, like who's out, where they are they at work, are they at a meeting? You may have meeting information. We actually have a separate whiteboard calendar for house meeting information. And I feel like there might be one thing on that whiteboard, but in a future post, I'll share a picture of what the whiteboard looks like. Laundry service. When you're running a group home, you do need to be concerned about bed bugs. Ideally, you're going to want anyone who's moving in. We allow our guests to bring 2 weeks worth of clothing. You're going to want all of that laundered on high heat before it comes into the home. You can use your best judgment. When we started out, we had people just bring their laundry immediately to our own dryer and get that done. But eventually the best setup was to get connected with a local laundry service where we can either drop off or they pick up, wash and dry everything on high heat, and then it gets delivered back to the house. Welcome caddies. Again, this is optional. It's something we decided that we wanted to do for folks. So we just have a little caddy. I think my partner got him super cheap on like Temu, whatever. I don't shop there myself, but you know the site that I'm talking about. And it has a razor, toothpaste, toothbrush, a little shampoo, a little soap, a little conditioner, just all the little travel things that we put in these little canvas bags for them, so that they have everything they need immediately when they come in. That will help them get on their feet, stay clean while if they're not employed, they're out looking for a job while they get on their feet and they're able to buy their own supplies. So that's welcome caddies. Bedside lamps. So when if you have a bedroom with 4 or 5 people sleeping in there, then it's either lights off, but you might have people working different shifts, coming and going at different hours, and you don't want them tripping over each other trying to get to their beds, but you don't want, bright lights on while somebody's trying to sleep, or the central lighting in the room. So you might really want to consider getting everybody just a small bedside lamp. And finally, maintenance tools. Again, this is depending on your house, but in our house, the guests are responsible for maintaining the home, to a certain extent, and the lawn as well. So they need to have lawnmowers, leaf blower, weed eater, stuff like that. But also, in our house, we have a house full of people that have been in construction experience, handyman experience. So you want to make sure that they have basic tools, a drill, hammer, measuring tape. If not a drill, if you're not nice enough to get a drill, then at least, a Phillips, a flathead screwdriver, one of the multi-tools where it's one screwdriver that does like 9 different things.